What's Gucci, everyone? I'm here to talk about another interview problem. And so this is how I'm going to set up the interview problem today. This is kind of another kind of just thinking problem that I've been asked in an interview series and is good to know. It's not really a programming problem, just like the last one. So the setup is we are on a planet. We are on a different planet than Earth, and whatever. And this planet has its own species. It has aliens. And these aliens cannot communicate with other aliens or their other type of species. So what do I mean by that is that every single alien cannot communicate with one another. There's millions of aliens, there's infinite aliens you can think of, but there's no way for them to communicate with each other. They just live in harmony. There's no mirrors, which I'll get to in a second, that matters, but there's no way for them to communicate. They can't complement each other, they can't talk to each other, they can't signal to each other. There's absolutely no way. And the aliens all have eyes. In this thing, I have one eye. And they all have green eyes, except that sometimes aliens get a genetic disease where they have red eyes. Now, the red-eyed aliens can infect all the other aliens eventually in years to come and kill off the whole species. So it's very important to get rid of the red-eyed aliens. There's a little bit of variation in the story, but this is essentially how it goes. And so it's very important to get rid of the red-eyed aliens. And so one day, another species comes with a spaceship. I don't know if I can draw like a helicopter, but comes with a spaceship, and basically it says, okay, it's time to get the red-eyed aliens off the ship. But the man who comes in the spaceship, or the spaceship just comes, he is not going to pick out the red-eyed aliens. The species has to determine who has the red eyes. Now remember, none of them can communicate with each other. The only thing they can do is they can see with their eye. And so, if you want to think about it, since they all can't communicate, none of the aliens know their own eye color. But if there's 1,000 aliens, each alien can see 999 aliens. They can't see themselves in any way, shape, or form, or be notified of what eye color they have. So every alien doesn't know what eye color they have, but they know what eye color every other alien has. So the problem is, without any communication or breaking any of the rules that I just mentioned, how many days, or how are the aliens going to figure out that the aliens has red eyes? And one proposition I forgot to make that's actually very important is that every day the spaceship will come, and it will wait to see how many aliens get on. At the end of the day, the spaceship will leave at the end of the day, and it will come back the next day until all the red-eyed aliens are gone. And the spaceship will know that, but it will not tell the aliens of any progress or anything if they've done wrong or right. So the spaceship comes every day. So the question is, how many days will it take the aliens to get rid of all their red-eyed, infectees? And so this is a very interesting question, right? Because think of it. So let's just say if I've got, if I got three people, so I've got, one dot, I've kind of got a triangle of people. And let's say, I've got, three blue eyes, and then I got a red eye. And so what can happen is, since none of these guys can communicate, but if the spaceship comes down, if you think about it, if the spaceship comes down, that means people have red eyes. That means that someone is infected. So I know that there was one or more. If there was zero, the spaceship wouldn't come down. And so if I just have three people, I look at him, he looks at me, or we all look at each other in some way, and we see, I know these two know who the red-eyed is, but this one doesn't know who the red-eyed is. But the red-eyed one can look at the other two and see that no one has gone on, and that the other two don't have blue eyes. So then it must discover, it realizes that it has the red eye and gets on the spaceship and leaves. Now what if there were two? See, this is how it's good to approach a scenario. What if there were two people, there were two red eyes and then two blue eyes, and so they're all looking at each other. So now the first day the spaceship comes, all of the blues will be staring at the reds, kind of, and the reds will be staring at the blues, in a way. And what will happen is take some very critical thinking. Is that essentially these two will be looking at each other, which is more important. And on the first day, it will say, okay, well, it's the first day, and this one has red eyes, so why doesn't it get on? And this guy's gonna say, oh, he's gonna be looking at this guy. It's like, oh, it's the first day. This guy should be getting on. He has red eyes, so these two will be thinking, they're the one with the red. The opposite one has the red eyes, and they should get on. But they'll be looking at each other, and they'll be in a standstill. And so because of that, neither of them will get on the plane the first day. But then, after the plane leaves the first day, they are now smart enough, they now realize, just logically, the reason because the other one didn't get on is because another one has red eyes. And that must be them. That is the crux of this problem, is that by the plane leaving, they now realize that there was one more person with red eyes than they could figure out. And because of that, they then figure out they have red eyes, and then the next day they leave. So for two people, it takes 2 days. 2 equals 2. And for one, it took 1 day. And so if we had 3, the same thing would happen. And so I hope you're seeing the pattern now. If we had 3 things, the two would be looking at, one would be looking at the other two saying go, and then they wouldn't go. But on the second day, they would still be looking at each other, because I guess that's the biggest problem, is that if there were 3, I guess I can just do just 3. If there are 3, and then this is again probably about the solution of the problem. If there are 3, then they all kind of stare at each other on the first day, and they say, why aren't they getting on? And then the second day rolls around, and they're still going to be looking at each other and say, why aren't they getting on? Because the second day, they only know that there's 2. Because they see 2, and they think that, they realize that there's 2. These two, one of them is going to realize there's more than just 1, because even though they see 2, they think there's only 2, but they don't know that there's that extra 1. If that, oh gosh, I don't know. It's hard to make sense. They're going to look at each other. Each of them is going to look at each other and say, okay, you're going to get on this plane. But then they're not going to get on the plane because they think the other one's going to get on the plane. So they don't realize they have red eyes until as many days has passed as there are aliens with the red eye disease. Because what they do is every day eliminates another alien, and so eventually they all don't think they have the red eye disease until they realize that there's one more alien with red eyes than they see. And so that takes the same number of days as the red-eyed alien. So it takes, n number of days. I'll just delete all this. N days for n aliens. For X aliens or whatever. It takes X days for n aliens or whatever. Oh no, well, it takes the same variable, dang it. So if it's 3, it's 3 days. And they're all going to leave on that same day. It just takes them n days. So that's kind of the interesting thing. So they don't go gradually. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. And tell me if you actually thought I did a good explanation. I'll see you guys later.